Wizzy.
Hey, Ross.
I'm sick of your shit. We're gonna read some My Little Pony fanfictions. Hello there, everybody. I'm Ross Pitt, Shark Hunter.
You're never going to explain exactly what you're sick of, are you?
I don't know, maybe I have an idea for a trailer coming out. You never know.
Is this going to have a compilation of me being annoying?
Yeah, something like that. Anyways, I'm Ross Pitt, Shark Hunter. I'm sick of Wizzy Puff's shit. That's Wizzy Puff. And so, I'm taking him on this guided tour of My Little Pony fanfiction. This is Ross Pitt and Wizzy Puff's Fanfiction Power Hour.
Can we get Can we get Jimmy and Timmy on here at some point?
I like that joke. I really did.
It's an early 2000s kid thing. You wouldn't get it.
Today, we're coming back to a story that we've been reading for the first time in forever.
Speaking of for the first time in forever, I was watching Frozen.
Great movie. Bite me. So, we're coming back to Princess Celestia Gets Mugged. When we last left off, fun fact, Celestia was captured by some by some bad crooks, right? And she was like, oh no, don't hurt me.
Oh no, don't spank me.
And so, eventually, she got a note from Twilight Sparkle. So, do you remember your characters?
I'm trying to.
That's okay, I remember your characters.
I definitely remember the first stallion's voice.
I don't remember mine. So, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. You know what? It's a fresh start, you know? Don't know how many chapters we're going to be getting through today. We'll just see as we go along. Wizzy, my man.
Yeah.
You may proceed.
This is Princess Celestia Gets Mugged, Chapter 2, by Brony Writer. Luna finds out.
Actually, it's Chapter 3.
Chapter 3, my bad. It says we did 2 chapters in one episode. All right.
Okay, how about this?
Shoot, I don't know the narrator voice I did. I'm just going to make up another one. The first stallion cleared his throat and lifted the ransom note into the air.
By the way, I should actually probably say, you should read the stories before listening to this podcast, probably. This isn't about reading the stories so much as it is about me and Wizzy bonding.
And you know about Celestia bonding. Get it? Bondage? I'm stupid.
And if you are a fanfiction writer, deeply sorry if that's what you thought this was. Anyways, let's continue.
Dear Princess Celestia and/or Princess Luna, how's it going? Fine weather we're having today, isn't it? I suppose we have you two to thank for that. Well, enough chit-chat. We're writing to you to say we've kidnapped your servant, Sunny Skies, and we're holding her for a ransom of 5 million bits. If you want to see her alive in one piece, I love that anime, I suggest you give us what we want. If we do not have the money by 4 o'clock this evening, we'll be forced to send you one of her ears as proof we mean business. Sincerely, us.
Okay, shouldn't they just send her her head and, put it next to her as she sleeps?
They're not monsters.
Okay, but I'm
Also, I
referencing
get
the
it.
mafia.
Yeah, I get it.
It's because they're horses, Ross.
It's The Godfather, actually, but whatever.
I wasn't sure if that was from The Godfather or if that's from an actual thing the mafia does. Or did.
Is The Godfather based off a true story?
I have no clue. I've never
Guess
even
we'll never
seen
know.
The Godfather.
What even is a Godfather?
The second stallion raised his eyebrow at his companion.
Really? We're gonna talk about the weather before we ask for the money?
I didn't even actually process that part. The stallion who had written the letter shrugged.
Well, I guess because we're demanding millions of bits and threatening to kill her if we don't get our way, doesn't mean we can't be civil about this.
I was mixing the narrator voice and that voice at the end.
Clearly.
The second mare scratched the back of her neck and glanced at the letter.
Well, I suppose so.
Her gaze flickered up to the rest of the group.
We're not actually gonna do that to her, are we?
Now it was the first stallion's turn to hesitate. He cleared his throat and looked down at the letter.
Well, the way I see it, we don't really have a choice in the matter. I mean, how's any pony going to take us seriously if we don't keep our word?
I don't know.
The second mare mumbled.
Stallion.
No. How do I read mare?
It just seems a little barbaric to me.
Be that as it may, we don't really want to show any weakness, do we?
The first stallion sighed.
If we do, they'll just let us keep her until they track us down.
But her ear?
Said the second mare, shifting where she stood.
Wait, I think I got the voice wrong. Oh well. I still don't see how that's necessary. Hey, I have an idea.
The second stallion giggled mischievously and rubbed his hooves together.
What if, instead of taking her ear off, we just make a mold of her ear, put some ketchup in the box, and send that? You would actually probably want brown paint to achieve that.
You want chocolate
you
syrup
guys
like they used in
are
Psycho.
Stupid. Equestria is not in black and white, you dunce.
Well, I just thought since they were so in the past.
I'm sure that Princess Celestia will be too distraught to know the difference.
You really think that we can get a fast one past the Princess Celestia like that?
The lead stallion shook his head.
No, she'll spot the fake immediately.
Celestia, weigh in on this. Sorry, continue.
The second mare opened her mouth to respond, but as she did, her face brightened to the point where Celestia was almost certain that she had seen a light bulb ignite above her head.
Guys. No, wait. Guys, I think I've got it. What?
The second stallion asked.
Okay, listen to this.
The second mare's smile shifted to a conspiratorial one, and she leaned forward to her index to her followers. To her fellows.
Fellows.
I'm trying to read.
I swear, I'll get a consistent voice eventually for these guys. How about, instead of taking her ear, we could cut her mane and tail off and send that? By doing that, we don't hurt her, but we also show that we mean business. Ow.
Well, it depends on what you mean by cut off her mane and tail, because that could hurt.
They're not monsters.
Well, I'm just saying that part of the tail. It's not all just hair. The effect on the other three was almost immediate and a look of utter relief washed over all their faces.
That's a wonderful idea.
The second stallion said.
You think up some excellent ideas sometimes,
Instantly the mare squeaked and shoved her hoof into the mouth of her fellow kidnapper.
Don't say my name. If she manages to get out, she can just tell the guards what our names are. We're finished, for sure, if she does that. What happened to mare number 1?
I know, right? Her face hardened into a glare.
I don't want to spend the rest of my life in a dungeon. Do you?
The stallion vigorously shook his head and spat the mare's hoof out.
Good catch.
He tapped his jaw with his hoof.
So should we use code names or something?
The other 3 ponies gasped in excitement and nodded.
Yes!
The first stallion cried.
Code names are an excellent idea.
But what should they be?
The second mare questioned.
Should they be objects or colors or what?
Color sounds good to me.
A wide smile split the first stallion's face, and he puffed out his chest.
I have a dictionary around here somewhere.
The stallion fired up his horn and levitated a large green book over to the group.
I think they even have a section in the back for weird colors.
He flipped the book open to a page near the back and scanned the contents.
Yeah, here it is. I shall be Mr. Knackerat.
The second stallion looked over Mr. Knackerat's shoulder and read the page himself.
The name Mr. Xanadu appeals to me.
The first mare... Oh, it's the first mare.
Hey, Mamma Mia, there she is.
The return of the first mare. The first mare snorted at her fellow kidnapper's names and condescendingly shook her head. Now, what is her voice anyway?
Beats me.
You boys are unimaginative twats, you know that.
Oi.
She took the book out of Mr. Knackerat's grasp. We can do much better. Mr. Knackerat frowned.
That's you.
Oh yeah, shoot.
I'm Mr. Xanadu.
No, I hate these name switches.
Oh, yeah? Well, let's see you try.
I will. The first mare retorted with a grin. She flipped to another page. I shall be Ms. Razzmatazz.
A good choice.
The second mare took the book herself.
I think Miss Fallow suits me best.
Then it's settled.
Said Mr. Knackerat, slamming his hoof on the ground again.
We all have our code names and we'll refer to each other as such.
This is so awesome. Ms. Razzmatazz giggled to herself in a rather fool-like manner. It's like we're secret agents or spies or something.
Our hostage will never be able to identify us now.
Mr. Xanadu leaned his foreleg against the wall.
Unless the royal guard itself knocks down our door, we'll get away scot-free. Thanks to our genius names.
Princess Celestia, who was biting her tongue so hard to keep herself from laughing that she would have drawn blood were she not an alicorn, had no choice but to speak up at the antics of her captors.
Oh, I wouldn't be so sure about that. I already know what you all look like.
The four ponies all gasped as they realized she was right, and Ms. Razzmatazz levitated a sheet over to her. Quick, we gotta blindfold her before she remembers our faces. Celestia snorted.
Oh, it's too late for that. Actually, I think this was the voice of the second mayor. But it's now the voice of Celestia, so deal with it. It's too late for that. I only needed to see you once to remember what you look like. I have quite the memory.
Ms. Razzmatazz's grip on the sheet faded, and it flooded down to the floor as she realized that Celestia was correct. Well, shoot. Mr. Knackerat cleared his throat once more and shook his head.
It doesn't matter. We'll get the money from the princesses. And then we'll go to Manhattan to hide out until this blows over. I have a friend
Wait
who
for
runs
it all to blow over. Shaun of the Dead reference. Continue.
who runs a tavern in the Lower East Side who can hide us until then.
Were she not tied up, Celestia would have given the crooks the double face hoof to end all double face hoofs. It was given to the point where oh my god. Oh, I remember cringing so hard whenever I heard face hoof before. Alright.
Please just continue.
I'm going to. It was getting to the point where she wasn't sure if she would be laughing at them or feeling sorry for them. Mr. Knackerat glanced back over to the ransom note and levitated over to himself.
Well, there's no sense beating around the bush.
Let's just kill her.
We need to send this to the princesses if we're going to make sure that we get our money.
His fellows all grunted in agreement, and he trotted out the room to deliver the letter. Celestia almost wished that she wasn't tied down. She would have loved to follow him to see where he delivered his letter without getting caught. Princess Luna stretched out her wings as the last of the nobles exited the day court before her lunch break. Everyone's trying to give Celestia a break. I just realized that in all these stories. All right.
You actually realized it a few podcasts ago, but whatever.
Well, I'll realize it whenever I want to, okay? In truth, she could see why her sister despised this duty. She had not heard such incessant whining and bickering since she was but a fool herself, fighting with her sister over some trinket. She leaned her head against the backrest of her throne and rubbed her temples. It was time for a nice bowl of celery soup. Celery soup, I love saying that. However, before she could exit the courtroom, the double door that made up the entrance burst open. No less than 4 royal guards marched into the room, dragging an unfortunate unicorn stallion in hoof cuffs between them. Luna cocked her head and walked over to them to meet them.
Sergeant, what is the matter here?
The royal guards threw the stallion to the floor, and one of them levitated a piece of parchment into the air.
That classic Luna voice, sounding like Voldemort if he was, high. The stallion came into the front gates to deliver this. I read it and had him arrested at once.
Luna frowned and sat up.
What information does the parchment hold that would warrant his arrest?
The sergeant sighed.
It's best you see for yourself. Yes, what?
Curious, Luna took the parchment in her own telekinetic grasp and turned it so that the writing faced her.
Dear Princess Celestia and/or Princess Luna, how's it going? Fine weather we're having today, isn't it? I suppose we have to thank you for that. Well, enough chit-chat.
Luna finished the note silently. So she was supposed to be reading that aloud. I guess I should have done that in her voice.
She's a really good imitator.
But once the message on it became clear, she widened her eyes and gasped. Kidnapped? Funny skies? Ransom? 5 million bits.
Tia?
She whispered.
I
Luna...
would have read it. Now, I'm not your director or anything, but I would have read it. Tia. I think that would have been been really dramatic, but not too dramatic for the kids. Tie.
Luna exhaled deeply and began pacing back and forth.
Tia, how could this happen to thee? Do they have some power to us? What nefarious purpose would they have with 5 million bits?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
Luna shook her head to clear it.
No, I cannot think as such. Get Tia back now. Get details later.
Luna turned her furious gaze to the prisoner between her guards. She took a menacing step forward, her eyes burning white with utter fury. In truth, she would have destroyed the pony on the spot if it weren't for inconvenient details such as due process and he knows where Tia is. When she was close enough, Luna leaned in so that her nose was almost touching the shaking muzzle of the prisoner.
Where
Kiss.
is Tia?
She growled with a level of menace that she had not had since Nightmare Moon. Ooh, she's turning back into Nightmare Moon.
I'm happy that she cares for her sister, unlike most fanfics make her out to.
Yeah.
And also vice versa.
The shaking stallion desperately tried to scuffle away, but he was held back by the royal guards surrounding him. Realizing there was nowhere to escape for him, he managed to stutter out one terrified word.
Who?
Luna opened her mouth to give the pony the best version of the point-blank Royal Canterlot voice that she could, but she remembered that the note had said sunny skies. The hoodlums who were holding her sister likely didn't realize just who they had kidnapped. Luna cleared her throat and tried again.
Where is sunny skies?
Guys?
What?
That's how I would have read it, personally. I know it's your interpretation, but I think it's funnier with, where is sunny skies?
The stallion continued shaking, but he took a shaky breath and steeled himself for an answer.
I thought that the note was clear.
He gulped and took a breath.
Give us the bits, and we'll let her go.
Luna's left eye and ear twitched as she fought back the urge to reduce this pony to nothing more than a stain on the carpet. But she kept her resolve and her anger.
How would you like to discover what it's like to be a three-legged, daisy-headed tortoise?
Well, now that sounds interesting.
Luna slammed her hoof down on the ground mere inches away from the prisoner's foreleg.
You would do well to relay the information I require post-haste.
Like, post-haste.
Okay.
Instead of responding to her request with the answer like any reasonable pony would, the prisoner fainted dead away, his head hitting the floor with a loud thud. Seeing that she was unlikely to get anything more out of him for the time being, Luna commanded the guards to take him down to the dungeons. She simultaneously knew that the Royal Canterlot voice might not be the most effective interrogation technique. Indeed, in the future she figured it might be better to use tickling with feathers, or whatever forms of draconian tortures that her sister had favored in her absence.
And that was end of chapter 3. Good chapter. Comedy gold.
So the Royal Canterlot voice, is that a thing?
Yes. In season 2, episode, I want to say 4 or 3. No, wait. It would have been 4. When Luna basically came back onto the show for the second time since the... No, yeah, for the second time. She used this very loud Royal Canterlot voice. Because that's how she would do it back in the day, you know? But times have changed, you know. Celestia became chill and stuff like that. So ponies were used to Celestia's, you know, bro-ish attitude, you know. But Luna didn't know that. So she used the Royal Canterlot voice.
All right. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good story so far.
Yeah.
Don't really have much to add to it.
Well, let's continue.
We doing 2 chapters?
Yeah.
Okay.
2 or 3, maybe even 4. Who knows how long these other chapters are.
Oh boy, let's hope my voice doesn't give out.
We're only 30 minutes in.
Oh wow. Chapter 4, Dreamwalker. Celestia licked her
Dream
lips.
waka waka waka.
Celestia licked her lips in anticipation, and Mr. Xanadu cracked his neck. The two, and indeed the remaining kidnappers, were locked in an epic battle of skill, wits, and dominance. The slightest wrong move, the slightest sign of weakness, and the whole thing could come crashing down as an opponent completely cleaned up. Mr. Xanadu looked Celestia dead in the eye and cleared his throat.
Ahem. Miss Skies.
Celestia smiled and fluttered her eyelashes.
Yes.
The stallion looked down at his cards.
Do you have any 3s?
I knew it was going to be a fish. Celestia looked down at her cards, which were helpfully being held up by Ms. Razmataz.
I'm sorry. Buggerfish.
Mr. Xanadu groaned and levitated a card from the deck in front of him. He sighed and put it in his collection.
I don't have any luck today, do I?
Celestia lightly snickered and looked down at her own cards.
Well, it's my turn, I guess.
She frowned slightly and scanned her opponents for a moment.
Miss Fallow, you wouldn't happen to have any princesses in your possession, would you?
Miss Fallow grimaced.
Right. Yeah, but I only have one. Just trying to think of the voice.
She slid a single card towards Celestia. Her face split into a wide grin, and she nodded to Ms. Razmataz, who promptly placed Celestia's 4 remaining cards on the table.
That's 4 of a kind.
Celestia smiled and bumped shoulders with Ms. Razmataz as a replacement for a high hoof.
I'm out.
So is it not, what's it called? Frickin' Go Fish?
I don't know. She
Or
said go fish.
Yeah, what the heck? I have no clue what this game is.
I don't know, maybe it's a different version of Go Fish. I can't remember how Go Fish is played, so.
Her opponents groaned in defeat and threw their cards on the table.
I only needed one more 7 and one more 6.
Ms. Fallow huffed. She glanced over at the cards of Mr. Xanadu.
Just my luck, you had them both. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was a fun game.
Celestia shifted in her seat to get a little more comfortable.
Would you like another round, or would something more challenging be of interest to you?
Mr. Xanadu gathered up the cards and began shuffling them.
What do you have in mind?
Celestia chuckled in a manner that reminded her of a con main villain. What is con main?
Con man,
Oh,
but ponyfied.
Okay, whatever.
Oh, shut up, Wizzy. Does poker sound appealing to you?
Immediately, the faces of all three ponies brightened, and they eagerly nodded.
Yeah, we can use the money we got from you as betting currency.
Said Miss Fallow.
That sounds like a wonderful idea.
Mr. Xanadu levitated the bag of bits that the group had taken from Celestia during her kidnapping and began dealing out the cards to the individual players. Celestia thanked her captor while Ms. Razmataz dealt each pony 5 cards.
Thank you.
I need Ms. Razmataz to talk again. I'm starting to forget her voice.
It was late or something.
Yeah, something like that. Princess Luna took a deep breath as she sat down in front of the cell holding one of her sister's captives. The unicorn was still passed out, and now he was resting in one of the palace's jail cells. Luna glared and a growl played at her lips. Soon your secrets will be mine. After relaxing her body a little more, Luna ignited her horn and closed her eyes. She let out a blanket of pure magic fall over. She let a blanket of pure magic fall over her. She reached out with her consciousness and scanned the immediate area for any life forms around her. Given her proximity to the prisoner, it was not but a second until she sensed his presence, and she reached out to connect her magic to his subconscious. She would find his dreams there. The instant her magic touched his mind, she felt something akin to being pulled forwards by a great force, and when the feeling ceased, she opened her eyes to find herself in what appeared to be a palace. She frowned, but mused that it was not unusual for ponies to have dreams of grandeur. Of course, he would be dreaming that he was a servant. She extended a bit more of her magic until she was disguised as a dark blue unicorn. Given the reason the hoodlum was unconscious in the first place, it would likely benefit her cause if she wasn't interrogating him as herself. She could catch more flies with cake than promises of incineration. I know, I kind of like promises for incineration myself. Luna quickly limbered up, then trotted down the hall towards what seemed to be 2 large doors guarded by 2 stoic unicorn ponies in heavy armor. To Luna's surprise, they both smiled when she approached. You're here," said the one on the left. "Go in. He's waiting for you." Luna raised an eyebrow in confusion. "What do you mean?"
You're the escort that Prince Nakarat ordered, are you not?
Why is he dreaming of himself with his codename? Are there codenames that they're actual real names? Because that would be so stupid.
I think he's just an asshole.
The second god asked. Luna opened her mouth to insist that she was no common mare of the evening, but she remembered that she was technically in disguise for the interrogation, so she might as well play along. She could quickly turn his dream into a nightmare if it got too out of hoof. Haha, out of hoof, I get it. Doing her best to hold back the urge to vomit, she gave both of the gods her best seductive expression. "Why, of course I am, big boy." Yeah, I added the last part. She cooed. "I shall go in at once to see Prince Nakarat." The gods inclined their heads in a slight bow, and the one on the left pushed the door open for her. Luna thanked him and walked in, sticking her tongue out in disgust. Once she knew they couldn't see her, sighing to herself, Luna began walking across the room. On the other side of a large golden throne encrusted with every kind of gem she could imagine, on said throne reclined the hoodlum who had taken her sister. She had to hold back more feelings of disgust when she... Okay, hold on, I need to drink some water. Oh, never mind, I'm out of water.
Damn it, Wizzy.
On said throne reclined the hoodlum who had taken her sister. She had to hold back more feelings of disgust when she saw that he was flanked by 2 mares, one of whom was fanning him with a palm branch, while the other fed him grapes right off the stem. God, he's a big old pervert horse, isn't he? She fought the urge to face hoof as she stopped in front of the throne. The stallion looked up when he heard her approach and grimaced at Luna.
Ah, you're here.
With a wave of his hoof, the 2 mares next to him bowed and exited the room. The stallion sat up in his throne and beckoned Luna a few steps closer.
So, you're the mare they sent for my entertainment.
Stop! That's just gross.
This is going to turn into some, kinky fanfiction. Luna once more fought the urge to obliterate the insolent fool, but she forced a smile on her face. Yes, I have been sent to do whatever it is you desire, and... Her charade faltered ever so slightly as the stallion's grin widened with every word. She growled to herself. Tia? What? Oh, now I see what she's doing. Tia, the things I do for you. The stallion chuckled and hopped off his throne. You must be new. Luna grumbled something very unprincess-like to herself as the stallion walked up to her. Oh, is that supposed to be the, captor? Yeah, okay, now I see.
You must be new.
Luna grumbled to her something very unprincess-like to herself as the stallion walked up to her.
Well, let's go somewhere private, shall we? I'll help you out.
I just thought after it said Luna right after that, never mind. The stallion beckoned Luna towards the back room, and Luna followed. She promised to order his execution the moment she had the information she needed, but for now the charade would need to be upheld. She ruled that forcibly reading his mind would be unethical. Oh, that's supposed to be ruled, never mind. The stallion threw the doors of the back room open, revealing a room almost as large as Luna's room in the castle. The one defining feature, though, was that every square inch of the floor was covered in plush pillows that admittedly looked quite comfortable. Nakarat sat down on one of the pillows and indicated that Luna should do the same. Luna placed herself 2 pillows away from him. I suppose you wish to be intimate now, yes? She deadpanned. To Luna's surprise, the large grin on the stallion's face had sported to this point faded into a look of embarrassment.
Ah, yes, that.
He looked uneasily at the ground and scratched the back of his neck.
See, I was kind of hoping you knew more about that.
He doesn't know how. His eyes shot up and he held a hoof to forestall Luna's response.
Not that I don't know what that is. It's just that
Luna actually did face hoof this time. In fact, she double face hoofed him.
You're joking. You must be joking. Well, no.
The stallion admitted.
But if you don't want to, because, I don't know, that's cool too. We could do other stuff.
Luna removed her hooves from her face and glared at him. Oh, what do you suggest,
Mario Kart. Mario Kart.
Mario Kart. The stallion's smile returned full force at the question, and he bounded over to her and literally pushed her onto her back. Before she could obliterate him, he placed one of his hooves on her belly and began rubbing.
How? How dare you place your hooves on me in such a manner?
Luna sputtered.
I demand that you cease giving me a belly rub at once.
The stallion chuckled, but did not stop.
It's okay. I used to be a professional masseur. I know what I'm doing. That matters not.
Luna snapped.
You shall take your
Luna's protests were cut off when a wave of relaxation hit her, and the condemning words she was going to say died in her throat. Oh. The stallion smirked at her.
Again, I used to be a professional masseur. When you get tired of this, just let me know and I'll give you one of my Equestria famous back rubs, okay? And maybe something more, if you get what I'm saying. That.
Luna inwardly groaned as all thoughts of her mission drained away. Me damn it. Why did it just say me damn it?
They, in Equestria, Celestia and Luna's names are used as placeholders for like God and stuff.
Oh, I don't like that.
It's okay. You don't have to like it. You can still just be stupid.
Excuse me?
I mean, you know, you're dumb and stuff like that, so whatever.
Hey, Ross. When's the
buddy,
last
what's
time
up?
you talked in this chapter?
It was up there.
Yeah.
What's your problem, pal?
Just saying.
Buddy.
I'm kind of putting on a one-man show, and you're calling me stupid.
I mean, your face is pretty dumb. Let's face it.
Ross, do you
Yeah,
think
what's up?
God says me damn it?
Would God use his own name in vain?
Well, yeah, he's God. He can do whatever he wants.
Then sure. He's God. He can do whatever he wants. If he wanted to say me damn it, he would say me damn it.
Oh, that's hilarious to imagine. So that was chapter 4 of Princess Celestia Gets Mugged.
Oh, I thought that was chapter 2.
What?
I'm kidding.
Were you?
It was...
Were you really?
Yes.
Good. Do we plan on doing a third?
I don't know. I mean, really, it's up to you. I could keep going and going and going.
How far are we in?
About halfway through with this chapter.
What?
Well, with this next chapter, we'd be about halfway through.
I know, I meant how far into the podcast are we?
Into the podcast, we're 45 minutes.
Oh.
You know,
Yeah,
you
I'll skip.
have an Audacity that you can look at.
I am in the recording booth. There is no screens here.
Why not?
Because it's just a microphone.
That's very interesting.
And it's hard to get out of. But it gets me better sound. Alright, so let's do chapter 5.
A hint of a location.
Now we're on to Princess Celestia Gets Mugged, chapter 5. A hint of
Yeah,
location.
I know.
I know, I'm just saying it for the listeners.
I just said that we were at that one, and you said that we were going to chapter 5.
Oh my god. I'm not sure what we're cutting out and what we're not cutting out.
Why would I cut that out?
Because that's boring.
You're boring. I'm cutting out everything that you say.
So you're cutting out, like, most of the podcast?
Yeah, essentially.
Do you realize how little you talked in that last chapter?
Yeah, I realize it. And I don't care.
Well,
Jesus criminy cat. Stop that.
I think you should probably know that when Princess Luna finally exited the mind of the stallion 4 hours later, after some of the best massage therapy she ever had experienced, it was with mixed feelings. On one hoof, she still wasn't any closer to finding her sister. On the other, those massages. Her shoulders hadn't felt so good in years. She smiled dumbly at the unconscious stallion before her. Normally, the fact that it was fear that had knocked him out would only have him down for an hour at most. I don't think that's how being knocked out works.
Well, you know what, Wizzy? How about you stop trying to poke holes in this My Little Pony fanfiction? How about that?
I am a critic. I must review.
I don't see your credentials.
Maybe you should check Rotten Tomatoes, where I leave false and inflammatory reviews of movies I haven't seen.
I don't see your credentials.
Link in description.
Sure they are. Sure it is.
But with his skills, Luna had used some of her magic to make sure that he stayed down long enough to finish his massage. Oh, that's so creepy. Oh, that's so creepy.
Luna, you weirdo.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Our Lord and Savior?
Oh, me Christ. Of course, There was still the major issue of the fact that she still didn't know where her sister was. Her smile faded, and she sunk the side of his head for letting personal pleasures get in the way of locating Celestia.
How foolish and selfish of me.
Luna muttered.
I did not ask him about Tia once.
Stupid.
Before the Luna could do anything more, she heard the door to the dungeon open. She turned to the door and saw Captain Shining Armor trot down the stairs towards her. She gave him a slight nod, and he returned it with a small bow.
Hey, any luck, princess?
Luna sighed and shook her head.
Wait, I can do better. If he talks to Dan, I'll do better. Continue.
It would seem that the rogue has been taught mind-blocking techniques from whatever conspiracy group employed his services.
She scratched her lower jaw thoughtfully and peered at the prisoner.
I may have to use more unorthodox methods to obtain the information we require.
Luna turned to Shining Armor with the intent of acquiring his opinion, but she was surprised to see him looking suspiciously at her. His eyes were narrowed and he was clenching his jaw as he wanted to say something, but thought better of it. Luna cocked her head.
Has an issue arisen?
Shining Armor bit his lip and scratched one of his forelegs uneasily. Luna scoffed and rolled her eyes.
Permission to speak freely granted.
Well, obviously, we have a rapist. Well,
Shining Armor cleared his throat.
I'm having a little trouble buying that he can mentally block you.
Luna raised an eyebrow.
You doubt the truth of my statements?
Yep.
Shining Armor trotted down to the bars and examined the stallion behind them.
I'm having a little trouble believing that a stallion so dumb that he personally delivered the ransom note to the palace has the brain power to block the pony who raises the moon every night and whose dream-walking spells are the stuff of legends. Keep in mind, he was able to capture Princess Celestia, so...
Yeah.
Who really knows with this guy, am I right? This could all be part of his master plan.
Yeah, he's only playing dumb. He knew that Princess Celestia would want to be kidnapped, and he knew that he could seduce Luna.
Well, Luna doesn't know that Princess Celestia wanted to be kidnapped.
Yeah, but
The joke is that we're seeing this from Luna's point. Never mind.
Luna puffed out her chest.
I have never failed to get a dream confession.
And you want your record to be blemished by him?
Instantly, Luna's smug demeanor deflated, and with it, the lies.
I do not wish to relay what took place in his dreams. It is a matter between him and I.
Oh my God, he was passed out, and she took advantage of him in his dreams.
I think she took advantage of her in his dreams. But she didn't object.
I just find this totally wrong. Shining Armor raised an eyebrow, and the first traces of a smirk tugged at the corners of his mouth. Luna scoffed and stepped backwards. So, I actually have a question. If he's such a good masseur, how come he went to a criminal life? Like, he seems to enjoy giving massages. He seems to be really good at it. Used to be a masseur. What did he do to get... Was he like a pervert with the customers or something?
No!
If we're being honest, he probably was.
No, shut up, no! He doesn't even know what sexual intercourse is, clearly.
Yeah, because he's a pervert with everyone he tries to have sex with.
I don't know where your logic is there. Maybe it's just funny. Huh? You ever think of that?
This guy seems
Maybe
like a big pervert.
comedy happens.
This guy seems like a big pervert, okay?
Shut up.
It's basically canon in this fanfiction that this guy's a pervert.
He started out like maybe pervy, and then we realized, oh wait, this guy knows literally jack shit. I don't think a pervert would literally know jack shit.
Okay, then why isn't he a masseur anymore?
Because his license got revoked. Because, and I cannot stress this enough, he accidentally placed his hoof on the mare's neck in a wrong way.
You saying he killed someone?
I'm not saying he killed someone, but an injury did happen. Let's continue.
Take your mind and remove it from the gutter, Captain. My interactions are private.
Oh my god. No, put it back in the gutter. That's what was happening. I mean, it's probably not as sexual as he's thinking, but still, it was
Or as you're thinking.
pretty weird. Okay, you take someone prisoner, go into their dreams, and have them perform sensual actions on you.
Do you really consider a massage sensual?
If you don't, I think you don't know what sensual means.
I wouldn't know. I have never had an experience like that.
Like him. Hey!
Yeah, he's actually kind of the most relatable person I've known ever. Please, let's
Ross,
continue.
are you a criminal? Okay.
Just continue.
Luna narrowed her eyes and leaned in.
As is this conversation, unless you wish to leave. Unless you wish to have the soldiers under your command made aware of the games you play with your bride in the middle of the night.
What the heck? Why does she have his sex tape? Never mind. Shining Armor's nostrils flared and his stance became more dominant, yet slightly fearful at the same time.
Hey, Candyland is a fun game. It was Cadence's
God.
favorite when she was growing up.
Oh, so he's Cadence's husband. Cool.
Yeah.
Be that as it may, must you squeal like a schoolfool when you reach Princess Lolly?
Oh, I just love that. Shining Armor groaned and waved a hoof in defeat.
Okay. I won't tell anybody. Still.
The captain...
Oh, sorry. Don't know why I just skipped over that.
The captain turned his gaze back to the prisoner.
Still, it would be best to interrogate him somehow. He is still our best bet of finding Princess Celestia.
Luna sighed and nodded.
You speak the truth. I shall awaken him and let you attempt to secure a confession. I am
Luna hesitated.
biased, and I fear it would affect our attempts.
Shining Armor rolled his eyes at Luna as Luna fired her horn to wake Mr. Nakarat up.
Whatever you say, princess. Whatever you say.
Poker had gone as well as Celestia could have hoped. She had won back a good portion of her bits within an hour or so. She now sat in front of Mr. Xanadu, the only remaining player with a grin on her face. The stallion in question still had a fair amount of bits left himself, but Celestia had been chiseling his winnings away as the hours had passed on. Why does she have a grin on her face? She should have a
'Cause
poker face on.
Yo, please. Like, these guys will know anything about poker.
Fair point. Princess Celestia shifted in her chair and motioned to Miss Razzmatazz to deal the cards once more. The mayor dealt both parties 5 cards and pushed 3 bits in for the starting round. She lifted up Celestia's cards and fanned them out so she could see them. Ace of clubs, Princess of clubs, 9 of diamonds, 4 of clubs, and Queen of spades. Celestia's eyes flickered up at Mr. Xanadu, hoping to gauge his reaction to his cards, but he had surprisingly good poker face. She mused that was probably the only reason he was still in the game, as the others weren't. Miss Fallow literally squealed in delight whenever she got as much as a pair of 3s. No focus. Win
Nope,
back.
that's me.
Oh,
That's me. Piss off. That's me.
oh my god.
No, focus. Win back the bets, and then see what they do with that.
Thought Celestia. She whispered in Ms. Razmataz's ear to indicate which cards she wanted switched out, and received 3 new ones, while Mr. Xanadu received 2. Celestia stared blankly at her cards, but was surprised to hear Mr. Xanadu speak.
All in.
Celestia looked up at him and raised an eyebrow.
Did he? Seriously?
She shrugged and nodded to Miss Razmataz.
Put the equal amount in. I call.
Miss Razmataz nodded. Whatever you say, Miss Skies. She pushed the proper amount into the pile. Okay, show 'em, Mr. Zanny. Zanny.
Xanadu.
And pop a few Zannies. He corrected. He glanced
Xanadu.
back down at his cards.
Actually, can I take that back?
Celestia chuckled.
No, it's too late now. What do you have?
Mr. Xanadu bit his lip nervously, but he slowly placed his cards down on the table. Pair of 10s. Celestia snorted and had Miss Razmataz place their own cards on the table.
Pair of princesses. I win.
So none of them are good at poker, I see. Mr. Xanadu groaned and the rest of the party cheered Celestia's victory. Miss Razmataz scooped the bits into Celestia's coin purse. Nicely done, Miss Skies. Winning a pair of princesses. She turned her head to Mr. Xanadu. Must be pretty embarrassing. Before Mr. Xanadu could respond, Miss Fallow let out a loud gasp and shot to her hooves.
Princesses, we haven't heard back from Mr. Knockerat with the princess answer.
Oh, yeah, we were doing something like that, weren't we? Said Miss Razmataz. Huh, what a thing to forget.
Well, if he isn't back, what do you think that means?
Mr. Xanadu frowned and stood up from the table.
Should we sit and wait for him, or should we do something else?
He's been gone for 6 hours, Miss Razmataz pointed out. If he was going to be back, he would have already been back. She shook her head and stood up. No, I think we need to come up with a contingency plan.
Like what?
Asked Miss Fallow. I think the best course of action is to take Sunny Skies somewhere else. I just remember that's supposed to be like in a falsetto that entire time.
Oh, yeah.
Miss Razmataz placed the coin purse back in Celestia's saddlebag and slung it over her shoulder. Mr. Knackerat can't turn in if he doesn't know where we are.
Us in. Can't
I
turn
said
us in.
What did I say?
I didn't hear you say us. I just heard can't turn in.
Oh, I may have accidentally said that.
An excellent suggestion.
Said Mr. Xanadu.
We could take her to my mom's place. A few blocks from here. She's vacationing in Las Pegasus.
Oh, I love that. Good. Miss Razmataz sighed. Look, Miss Skies, I'm really sorry to have to do this to you again, but, you know. Celestia once more felt the pillow feeling on the back of her head. She once more dramatically fainted, letting her body completely relax. She soon felt the ropes around her slide off, and she was gently levitated onto the floor. She once more felt ropes tighten over her as her captors bound her legs together. But I think that's just what she wanted, eh?
Kink. You know, if we keep knocking her out, we might really hurt her.
Miss Fallow pointed out.
Maybe something a little less dangerous next time, yeah. She's right.
Said Mr. Xanadu.
If we actually do hurt her bad, we'd get a lot worse than jail time for robbery and kidnapping. This is one of Celestia's most trusted servants.
Celestia heard Miss Razmataz grunt in agreement. I suppose you're right. If there's a next time, we'll just hijack a taxi or something. That'll be easier and safer for all of us. The others voiced their agreements, and Miss Razmataz fired up her horn. Okay, let's wrap her in this sheet. No pony will see us move her if we do. Princess Luna was reclining in her room, reading the copy of Pinkie Pie's diary that she had made when she last visited Ponyville. when she heard a loud knock on her door. She sighed and marked her spot.
Enter.
The door opened, and Shining Armor walked in with a smuggest smile on his face.
We got it.
Luna tossed the diary aside and stood up.
Where is my sister?
They took her to an old apartment complex a few blocks from Donut Joe's place.
He beckoned Luna to follow him.
Come here. Apparently, they nabbed her in the alley about half a block from that.
We must sally forth and reobtain my sister with all speed. Assemble your finest soldiers to aid in the retrieval.
Shining Armor nodded and signaled to two nearby stallions who saluted and ran off.
Did that ruffian give you any more information?
Shining Armor shook his head.
Nothing relevant. He and his group didn't say how large it is. Don't know that they have Princess Celestia, so that can only be good. I didn't get much more than that.
It matters not.
Snot.
Said Luna with a wave of her hoof.
I shall deal with such matters when we have reclaimed my sister and put an end to those ruffians who took her.
What are you planning on doing to them?
Shining Armor looked over at his assembling troops.
I mean, it's unlikely that they've hurt her at all.
Kidnapping a princess holds only one punishment: death.
A
You sure
scowl
about that?
crossed Luna's face.
Yeah, I don't think Celestia planned on this.
It matters not how blatantly idiotic those fools are. It is still against all of our most sacred laws to kidnap the pony who raises the sun.
You're
Luna
one to
shook her
talk.
head. Nice. I know.
They shall die soon after their capture.
Huh. I'm surprised that kidnapping a princess has come up enough to warrant this its own law. Wow, that was weird. To warrant its own law.
Shining Armor shrugged.
Should we execute the one we have now?
Despite everything, Shining Armor had to hold back a smirk.
He was just as responsible for everything, and I think we've gotten everything out of him that we can.
On the other hoof, it would be barbaric to execute them without a fair trial.
Yeah, you're one to
Said Luna
talk.
Some
quickly.
of those old laws are barbaric, and perhaps there is some aspect of the case we are unaware of.
If you say so, Princess.
Shining Armor chuckled.
A fair trial it is. Should we start on his now, or wait until we have all of them?
Luna scowled.
We shall wait. He is in no state to endure a trial. It would be unjust of...
What?
I want this to become like a freaking courtroom drama.
I want to have Judge Judy guest star in My Little Pony.
Well, that
It
won't
would-
happen.
What's a pony pun for Judge Judy?
Judge Pony. Continue.
It would be unjust of us to force one upon him now.
Before Shining Armor could respond, a page darted towards Luna and sank to his knees in a hasty bow.
But Princess Luna, there's been an issue.
Luna frowned.
Well, out with your message.
Of course, Your Majesty.
The page cleared his throat and pointed back towards the castle.
There's a group of nobles in the courtroom as we speak. They're demanding to speak with Princess Celestia at once. I'm not sure what to do about it. But I know she's taking the day off, and I figured it would be best if you handled it.
Luna glanced at the palace and let out a low groan before looking over at Shining Armor. The captain sighed.
It's okay, Princess. We've got this.
It is not that I am worried about.
Luna rubbed one of her temples.
Those nobles can be childlike.
I know, but just remember that you're the one in control of the situation, not them.
Luna slowly nodded.
Very well. Lead the way.
The page bowed once more and led Luna back towards the throne room. Shining Amma watched her go, almost wanting to play a round of taps for her. But she didn't need to hear that. Instead, she turned to his soldiers with a determined look in his eyes.
Okay, mares and gentle colts, you will know the mission.
Shining Amma began pacing back and forth.
Today we rescue Princess Celestia from the kidnappers. If all goes well, then I'll be buying the cider tonight.
The captain stopped in his tracks and turned to face his gods.
If it doesn't, then Ironhoof shall be buying the cider.
Oh, come on!
Shut
Fighting.
up, you stupid bitch.
Cry to God in the back now. Shining Amma shrugged.
Hey, I'm not the one who gets a large alimony check. If
Alimony.
you didn't want to buy the cider for failed missions, then you should have lost in court when you got the divorce.
Shining Amma shook his head and waved his hoof.
But that's not important right now. What's more important is that we go get the princess.
The collective gods cheered and raised their hooves in the air. Shining Amma levitated his helmet onto his head and pointed in the direction of the castle gates.
Let's do this.
So that is 3 whole chapters of Princess Celestia Gets Mugged.
Man, go us.
Honestly, these voices are kind of killing my throat, at least for the narrator and the friggin' Mr. Nakarat.
Same.
It's like it's drying my mouth out so much, and I already drank all my water.
Thankfully, Miss Fallow didn't get a lot of lines. Because this kind of hurts my throat.
You're mixing voices now.
I know. I can't help it. Shining's voice is just too fun to do.
I'll be honest, it's one of my favorite voices that I've done.
So this continues to be one of the funniest fan fictions we've read so far.
I am thoroughly enjoying it.
All right, I think that is it then.
All right, brilliant. Thank you all for joining us. Please go see the actual fanfic. Go read the actual fanfiction in the description below.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. And enough of that recording.